The Saturday Night Swapping mod just dropped, and in this video I want to explain the backstory of this mod and give you the backstory for each of the characters that pop up. Those of you that are OGs in the Friday Night Funkin' community probably remember when this mod first dropped, but initially it wasn't fully fleshed out, and now we get a lot more. Now the reason that it's called the Swapping mod is because some characters have had their actual gender swap, some characters have gone from being children to adults and vice versa. And of course, the most obvious one, boyfriend and girlfriend actually swap roles, with girlfriend being the main protagonist in this mod and boyfriend actually being the background character. Now, girlfriend has an interesting backstory here because apparently she's basically a street kid, meaning that for whatever reason, her parents kicked her out. And while we don't get to know why girlfriend actually got kicked out, we do know that she is considered transgender, meaning that she went from male to female. And that may be the reason that she was kicked out of the house, kind of like the B3 version of girlfriend. And it seems that she met boyfriend out in the streets when she was basically just rap battling people for fun, because unlike the original boyfriend, she doesn't want to be famous, she just kind of likes to battle people. And apparently the two of them fell in love. Now, unlike the original boyfriend and girlfriend, this duo isn't quite as affectionate as the original. I believe part of that is boyfriend isn't sure if he can come out to his parents yet. In this mod, technically Skid and Pump are adults and they are boyfriend's parents, aka both his dads. And while Pump absolutely loves girlfriend, Skid hates her. So instead of boyfriend introducing her as his girlfriend, he just calls her his friend for now. And something to clarify here is that while Skid does hate girlfriend, he doesn't necessarily hate the fact that they are friends, meaning that boyfriend and girlfriend are friends. He just doesn't want girlfriend to date his son. And we'll see later in the mod that Skid would actually go to some pretty extreme measures to keep them from dating, kind of like how Daddy Dearest did. Another thing that I find interesting is that in this universe, technically boyfriend went to the same school as Pico, meaning that he was there for the Pico school event, aka he was there when the school was attacked. And it seems that after that event, he was a bit traumatized, which makes sense, so he had a very hard time making friends. So even though Skid doesn't necessarily like girlfriend, he is happy to see that his son is actually out making connections again. Now, Skid and Pump are very interesting in this mod because technically, unlike their original selves, they are no longer human, but they are just considered to be magical beings. I believe that Pump is literally a pumpkin monster. He can literally take off his head and then his body can just move on its own. And unlike his husband, he actually knows that boyfriend and girlfriend are dating. He just doesn't want to say anything until they're comfortable enough to come out and tell him. Something else that I find interesting about these two is that they are basically immortal, so while we don't know exactly what type of magical creatures they are, we do know that they can basically live forever. And they have the ability to change their form, meaning that right now they look relatively friendly, but if they wanted to, they can look a lot more terrifying. And while it's obvious that Skid and Pump are boyfriend's adopted fathers, it seems that he was still able to take on some of their magical abilities. So I don't know if they actually taught him magic or if he just inherited some of it just by being in their presence, but he can technically use magic just like them. The only thing is he's not well practiced in it and he doesn't recognize just how strong he actually can be. Something else that I find really cool about Skid and Pump here is that just like Mommy Mirrors and Daddy Dearest, they're both basically like rock stars. And even though Skid looks pretty scary in this mod, he actually has a huge heart and is a kind individual. The next character that we see in this mod is going to be Break and Boss, and technically this is basically Mommy Mirrors and Daddy Dearest. Now something interesting here is that technically Boss is also girlfriend's cousin, which means that girlfriend has a little bit of demon blood in her, but nothing like the original girlfriend, meaning that she's not nearly as powerful. And even though the two of them look like children in this mod, technically they're older than boyfriend and girlfriend, but since they're demons, they age kind of weird, which means that they still appear like children and they still have the mind of children. So it's kind of funny, they're afraid of things that little kids would be afraid of, but they're actually extremely powerful, they just don't recognize it yet. Something else that I think is adorable is that Break actually wears that suit because he knows that Boss thinks it's very cute. And even though neither of them will admit it yet, they both have crushes on each other. And later on, apparently they end up getting married. And a little fun fact about these two, apparently at one point their names actually got changed to Dee Dee and Mimi, but they ended up changing their names back because I guess Break and Boss just sound better. The next character we see in this mod is going to be Tank Man, and unlike his original self, he's no longer an army captain, but instead he's like the mob boss basically. And of course his right hand man is still Steve. Now in this mod, it seems that he was hired by Skid in order to beat up girlfriend because of course he doesn't want girlfriend dating boyfriend. Now in the older versions of this mod, Boss Man aka Tank Man had nunchucks, which kind of went with this idea of him beating girlfriend up, but in this new mod he seems to have an AK, so I don't know exactly what's going on there, but when I look at the actual death animation, he does not take her out by bullets. Now it makes sense that Tankman doesn't use his weapon on girlfriend because she is kind of stupid and Tankman felt really bad about taking advantage of somebody that wasn't obviously very smart. So even though he's very capable of using the weapon if he wanted to, he seems to have a little bit of a heart, so he goes ahead and battles her instead. And a little fun fact about Tankman and Steve is that apparently at some point the two of them are actually supposed to become a couple, which doesn't surprise me at all because there's a ton of fan fiction and artwork that shows Tankman and Steve together. In this mod, we also have the song Tomfoolery, where we actually get to see all the characters from Ed's world, which I thought was pretty cool, even though there isn't really any lore that goes along with it. It's just a nice free play song. And apparently in the next update of the song, we'll also get to see Senpai and possibly Monster. And on top of that, we should have the dialogue back, because if you notice, we don't actually have dialogue in this particular mod. If you enjoyed this video, check out this video on the screen here, subscribe to become a member of the Orange Force, and we'll see you tomorrow with another video. And I hope you all had a Merry Christmas. Peace, peace.